All right, let's go on the record. Today is Tuesday, January 21st. The time is 7:38 p.m. My name is Ken Sire. I'm a regulatory law judge with the Missouri Public Service Commission, and I'll preside over this portion of the hearing. The Commission has set this time for a local public hearing here at the Osage Center in Cape Girardeau to give members of the public a chance to comment about Ameren, Missouri's general rate increase application, which is Commission File ER-2024-0319. The Commission regulates the rates charged by public utilities companies in Missouri to ensure that those rates are just and reasonable. The Commission also regulates the quality of service and safety of the operations of public utilities. There are a total of 5 commissioners. They are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Missouri Senate. The commission employs a staff of engineers, accountants, attorneys, financial analysts, and other specialists in the field of utility regulation. With me here tonight is Commissioner Maida Coleman. Also participating online is Commissioner Jason Holzman and Commissioner John Mitchell, and we may have other commissioners join us in the course of the rest of the evening.
Judge, this is Commissioner Kochmeyer. I'm in attendance.
Commissioner Glenn Kolkmeyer, good to hear your voice. The commissioners have not made any decisions in this case and cannot answer any questions in this portion today because they have to remain impartial until after all the evidence is presented at the evidentiary hearing in this matter, which is scheduled to take place beginning March 17th. Commissioner Coleman, would you like to make any opening remarks at this time?
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Public Service Commissioners, we appreciate you being here. Our chair, Kayla Hahn, sends her heartfelt appreciation for you showing up tonight. We know that this is an important matter, and the fact that you would take the time to come out, ask questions, and those of you who are also going to testify, we appreciate that. As the judge noted, we have not made any decisions about this case. We must review all of the evidence, the testimony, and everything that's put before us before a unpartial and fair. Is unpartial the right word?
How about impartial?
Impartial. See, y'all, I've been waiting around since 6 o'clock, so I can't even speak correctly. Impartial and decisions are made. So we appreciate the fact that you're here, that you're interested, and that you want us to hear what's on your mind. So thank you again for braving the elements and coming out. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. I suspect you've already been introduced to these people, but there are attorneys here tonight representing the parties in this matter, and so for the sake of the record, would each of you identify yourselves and state which party you're representing?
Thank you, Judge. My name's Tom Byrne, and I'm representing Ameren, Missouri tonight, and my address is 5330 Tam Avenue, T-A-M-M Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63109.
And Mr. Byrne, how do you spell your name?
B-Y-R-N-E.
All right, and representing the commission's staff?
My name is Carolyn Kerr, K-E-R-R, and I represent the Public Service Commission staff. My address is in the record.
All right, and for the Office of, the Office of the Public Counsel? Oh, sorry.
All right, and I'm Andrea Hansen, that's H-A-N-S-E-N. I'm also an attorney for the Public Service Commission Staff Counsel's Office, and my work address is also on the record.
All right. I apologize, Ms. Van Gerpen.
It's okay. Lindsay Van Gerpen. I'm an attorney with the Office of the Public Counsel, and my address is 200 Madison Street in the record as well.
Thank you. And I apologize, Ms. Hanson, as well. I'm sorry. Are there other attorneys here representing parties? Okay. The way we'll proceed for this portion of the hearing tonight is we've got a list of people that have signed up to testify. I'll go in the order that people signed up. When I call your name, just please step up to the microphone. Our staff here may jump in and try to adjust the microphone so we make sure we get your testimony. And when you step up to the microphone, I'll just ask you to raise your right hand and I'll swear you in, place you under oath, ask you to state and spell your name, and then you can offer your comments to the commission. Tonight we're going to try to limit comments to 3 minutes per person. And when you do finish your comments, if you would remain at the microphone in case there are any questions from the commissioners or from the attorneys for the parties. So having said all that, the first name on the list, and I hope you can bear with me on some of the pronunciations, but Jim Goshi is first on the list.
Thank you very much. My name is Jim Goshi. It's spelled J-I-M. Goshi is G-O-S-C-H-E.
All right. Mr. Goshi, could I place you under oath?
Yes, you may.
All right, thank you. You've got your right hand raised for the sake of the record. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead.
First of all, I want to acknowledge Mr. Russellberger and his staff as far as the detrimental weather we've had, how he's kept our heat going, and the service that he's given to our community. So, Russell, thank you so much. And I know that you've probably sent some of your people on down to other places. What I wanted to go about just a little bit is that what I said earlier is that as of September 30th of 2024, you had a net income of $456 million. And I do understand that some of this has to coincide with your ROE, which I think you're trying to keep it around 10%, which is a hefty number. Is that there's roughly about 10% of people here in Cape Girardeau that are on fixed income and Social Security. You know, a person said earlier is that the raise of Social Security recipients is 2.5%. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 6.3 times more. We got to understand is that, you know, there's a lot of people here in Cape Girardeau, not only in Cape, but surrounding areas that are on deeply fixed incomes, and to lay almost a 16% cost increase, you know, to keep the lights on and heat, I think it's going to be unbearable. I do think is that I tried to look this up, how many houses the power was disconnected during the last 12 months. I don't have that number, but I can assure you, and I'm not telling you anything you already don't know, with this rate increase, you're going to have a hell of a lot more. I think is that whenever we look at as far as what the cost of a kilowatt is and what the cost of a cubic foot of gas, you know, we don't have the privilege of shopping around like you're going to buy a car or a piece of furniture. We have to live with what the Public Commission has given to us. And it's not, do you like it or not, you have to like it. And I know that's the reason why you're here, to judge what we're saying here. So I'm looking at, you know, we need you and you need us. And I think, you know, respectively, a 5 to 6% increase, I think is more acceptable for this group versus almost a 16%. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goshi. Are there any questions from the attorneys or the commissioners for Mr. Goshi? All right. I don't believe so. Thank you, Mr. Goshi. Next on the list is Robin Turner.
Hello.
Hi. Ms. Turner, would you raise your right hand to be sworn in, please?
Sure.
I think he's going to adjust your microphone first. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Well, first I have a question. So are you one of our commissioners?
I am not, no.
Okay.
Ms. Coleman is.
So we have 1 out of the 5 here.
Right.
You have 1 in person and 3 online. And I must note that we live all over the state of Missouri, and the 3 that are online actually live in the Jackson County, Kansas City area. I live in St. Louis, and so it just makes it a little more easier for me to participate and come here. So, but they are online, they're listening, and everyone also sees all the testimony that is given before a decision can be made. So thank you.
Okay. Well, I understand that proximity may be an issue, but for these meetings, I think that the representation from our commissioner should be shown more than 1 person that is in person. I appreciate you being here. So when
one other thing, Ms. Turner, these local public hearings in this particular case are scheduled pretty tightly. So I know tomorrow there are some scheduled in St. Louis. The next day, there's a couple in St. Louis. Tomorrow, there's a couple in Jefferson City, I believe, the day after that. So it is, the commissioners do their very best to get to as many of these as they can, so.
Well, I understand that as well. I guess I'm a little annoyed that I have to come up here again and voice my opinions. I know that the meeting is set up, that we have a first half and a second half, and that was one of my grievances, is that you're not here listening to everyone who has to speak, whether they, file an official, sworn-in testimony or not. I think that you should participate in listening to everyone and all the voices that were heard tonight. Secondly, as I was doing research, from 2020 to 2023, the average Ameren summer residential bill increased by 19.56%. The average winter bill from that time period increased by 21.05%. They keep knocking around averages here and how they've increased by 1-point-something%. I have researched data for over a week now, and I'm not coming up with those same numbers. But now they want another over a 15% increase. I understand that they're a profitable business and not for profit. I get that. As I stated before, I feel like there has to be a reasonable, point where you pay your stockholders. Over the last 5 years, their stock has gone up over officially 19.72%. So their dividend, I'm not exactly sure what that percentage is, but their stockholders are not hurting. Also, the CEO of this company makes $9.019 million, or is it billion, a year? $1 million a year, which is an exorbitant salary for something where we have to rely on utilities. Again, I know it's not a not-for-profit, but when the commission looks at rate increases and you're gonna regulate rate increases, I mean, there's gotta be a better way. First of all, I was stunned to find out that our commission is appointed by the governor, that you're not elected officials. And I think that it's time that Missourians stand up and say, hey, we want elected officials in this position. Or maybe we need to go to the governor, or maybe the state of Missouri needs to change this whole policy. We're right, we don't have any competition, we don't have any say-so. We have 5 voices who stand up for how many Missourians that live in an Ameren UE zone. I do find that some of this, when you go back and you look at some of these fees or taxes or whatever you want to call them that are approved, that are additional, that aren't included in this rate hike, like the rush thing that's on there. To my understanding, there was a lawsuit. The judge shut that down. So now we're paying the cost of that for 15 years. You, as the commission, agreed to that. So you're passing that on. As I mentioned before, if I was a business owner, right, I don't pass every single expense that I have to the consumer. They don't walk up to a register and say, oh, by the way, you have to pay this fee because that covers my cost here. This fee, that covers my cost here. They're making astronomical profits. Between Illinois and Missouri, they make approximately about $1.2 billion a year, as you should know. It's about $550 million in Missouri and about a little bit more in Illinois at the cost of this consumer. Our rates keep increasing. So over the last 3 years, we get these high rate increases. I understand how it works. They go in and ask for 15-point-something%. You come back and you say, oh, we're only going to improve 9%. 9%, that still outweighs the cost of living wage, you know, what people are making. I mean, that exceeds what inflation has gone up. I mean, we can't continue to pay these prices for utilities. As I mentioned before, I'm practically living in the dark. I'm afraid to turn on a light. I mean, my lights are off. I'm got my thermostat down to almost frigid, you know, temperatures, just trying to save what I can. You know, I'm one person in my home. I couldn't imagine what it's like for a family of 5 with 3 kids that are doing laundry, that have to, you know, have clean clothes so they can go to work. I mean, these are just basic, simple commodities. I mean, it's just stuns me. And then,
Ms. Turner, I would ask you to kind of wrap it up because we are
well, I do
past
have
time.
one, and it's a question.
Okay.
So with the Rush, the decommission of that plant, there's also another plant that's in St. Charles, the Sioux Energy Center, and there's also one in this Body Energy, and it also says that they're scheduled for retirement. But if they retire and release those early, right, to my understanding, are we going to pay for that? Is that going to be another line item on our bill that's not included in this rate increase because we're paying for the Rush for 15 years? Is that something else that we're going to have to absorb? How much? I mean, everything on our bill, it's going to be 3 pages long before long. So how much more do the citizens of Missouri have to absorb? So this company makes more profits. This company can pay their CEO more. This company can, you know, pay a higher dividend. You know, this company can make more profits at the cost of the citizens who need a utility so they can provide heat and, you know, and run their stove so they can cook. Just keep that in mind.
Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Turner? All right.
Judges, Commissioner Holzman,
Commissioner Holzman, yes.
I think it's important that you restate and remind that we are not allowed to participate in the first half of the question and answer session due to prejudgment, and that's a part of the process that's established so that the questions can be answered that we cannot participate in.
Right. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Next on our list is, I want to say Brian Young. Is that? Mr. Young, what is your first name?
Brian Young.
Okay. Could you go ahead and raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Could you go ahead and state and spell your name?
Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, Y-O-U-N-G. I'll never be old.
All right.
How's that?
All right. Mr. Young,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
I just wrote these down before the meeting. The big thing when we had 2 Ameren people over here that floored me is they stated that I work for an HVAC company. A lot of people have relied on rebates to upgrade their facilities. We pay that in our bills every month, that efficiency charge. And at the end of the year, that was taken away. There are no more rebates in Ameren, Missouri for HVAC equipment. And they stated right when he was speaking like those rebates existed. They do not. And I think I just think it's awful that two executives would sit there and make a statement like that and not know the facts. That's number one. And I also heard from an Ameren employee that the state of Illinois with Ameren made a bad business decision. It sounds like this coal plant, the Rush coal plant, and the state was in bed with Ameren expecting $400 million, and the state of Illinois reneged on the payment. And it just blows my mind that they're asking for $400 million, roughly. I mean, you know, numbers don't lie. It's just funny that I just think we're paying for all of it. Like the company I work for, when we make a bad business decision, we can't increase what we said we were going to do that project for. We eat it. And if it's bad enough, it'll put a company out of business. And it just floors me that people in government don't understand that. I cover thousands of people. I've been doing this since 2012. I cover all the way down to the boot heel. This affects thousands of people. And the further south you go, you guys know this, in Missouri, these people are poor. They don't have money to pay 16%. That's what I'm getting at. And then I guess the big thing is I looked at an Ameren bill from 14 years ago. It had one entry on it, and that was the electricity, what you paid in electricity. And I bet you, I didn't count it up. I didn't have my bill with me. But I bet you there's 9 items on there, and I call this taxation without representation. And I'm also floored that our local representatives, the only man that I've seen locally here is Charlie Herbst. And I'm thankful that he's here, but all these things that show up on our bills, we're not voting for them. Somebody brought up something earlier that we voted for. I bet you nobody in this audience voted for any of this. It's wrong. That's what happened with this last election. I'll get political. People are pissed off.
All right.
And I hope you guys see that. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a passionate person, but I think I speak for a lot of people.
All right.
And thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. All right. Next on the list is Will Rushing. Mr. Rushing, would you raise your right hand, please? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Could you go ahead and state and spell your name?
Yeah, Will Rushing, W-I-L-L, Rushing, R-U-S-H-I-G. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about my disapproval for the proposed electrical rate. I'm a resident of Dexter, Missouri. My previous roles was I was a vice president.
I'm sorry, did you say Dexter?
Dexter, yes, sir. My previous role, I was a vice president of a manufacturing company. Before that, I was a senior vice president of a pharmaceutical company. And if I had went to my customers and asked for a 15% increase of prices of the goods, they would have looked at me like I had 2 heads. I had expenses too, and I was always asked. I had to cut staff, I had to cut programs, I had to become efficient. We started 6 Sigma process improvement programs. We did everything we could to, cut our expenses so we wouldn't have to pass them on to the customer. So basically, like somebody said before, your increase in price is basically a tax for us. And I will tell you, we pay enough taxes already. When a business raises prices for 2 reasons. Number one, to adjust for inflation. And the second reason you increase prices to pay for inefficiencies in the business. Inflation is projected to be around 2.9 for the first quarter of the year, but it's projected to drop each quarter, ending up at 2.4% at the end of 2025. What that means is it's going to be cheaper for Ameren to do business in 2025. So basically, you'll be able to buy more stuff with less money. Also, the new administration has signaled that they will allow business to deduct the full cost of eligible capital investments. And from a business background, what it means is it's going to have a good, nice impact on the tax burden for the company when you can deduct your capital investments. Also, there's going to be a less emphasis on its green technology in the coming years, which is a good thing. So you won't have to create a infrastructure or have a burden on the electrical grid with this new green technology, which should not increase prices in that area of business. So for me, the economic and financial forecast looks very good for Ameren. The promising forecast should translate to electrical rates not increasing 15%. For me, I think a modest 3 to 5% increase would be sufficient. One thing that Warren Wood, the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, had mentioned in an interview was the company wants to adjust electrical rates to reflect upgrades designed to make the system more reliable. Reliable energy should be a goal of the company, should not be a burden on us consumers. Ameren should look ways to cut costs internally instead of passing them on to us. Here's a couple things I came up with. First of all, end all your diversity, equity, inclusion programs. Let's face it, DEI has ran its course. Currently, you have a 5-member team on the supplier diversity program to ensure the suppliers Ameren uses are diverse. Additionally, Ameren spends a lot of money each year to ensure they rate high on the DEI scorecard that's controlled by an organization called Fair 360. Just hire good people based on merit and qualifications, not on sexual orientation or race. DEI has ran its course. We shouldn't have to pay for it. Also, minimize your alternative green programs. Currently, Ameren has 2 large windmill farms. The cost of maintaining and repairing a wind turbine is extremely high. The actual electricity produced varies a lot due to inconsistent wind and requires a lot of maintenance of these windmills. I would recommend decommissioning windmills one by one when they quit working due to mechanical issues. And solar panels, you have currently, Ameren has 2 large solar panel locations. The problem with solar panels is like the wind turbines, they do not produce a reliable, consistent source of electricity. And they're also expensive to repair, and disposal of solar panels is extremely expensive. And they have their potential for hazardous waste. So I would recommend discontinuing building any more solar panel farms. So in closing, I would ask that you do not pursue a 15% 15% increase in electrical rates. 3 to 5% increase is sufficient. I would ask you to look internally at your operations and administration, find ways to cut or eliminate costs before putting the burden fully on us.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rushing. Are there any questions for Mr. Rushing? All right. Thank you. All right. Next on the list is Bernie Dernberg.
I really don't have anything. I just asked my questions earlier, so
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. And then after that is Brooke Freeman, looks like. Is that correct?
It's Brock. B. Rock
Brock?
Freeman.
Okay, I'm sorry. Would you go ahead and raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give today in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to give.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you get started, could I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, Brock Freeman, BROCK FREEMAN. Am I good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to offer my experience as a local college student that has decided to place roots here in Southeast Missouri. As a young professional, as I get out into my career and as I start to become an adult, I'm finding increasing amount of charges that show up on my bill because of decisions that were made generations ago that now need to be placed on to people like me. For example, let's look at the last 3 tax increases. This isn't the only one that's coming across my budget. This is what, a 16% increase for my electricity rates? Let's look at our water rates. They're asking for an increase there. We can't pay for our water lines. That's a rate they just asked for in April. Let's look at the last election. They're asking, or the next election, they're asking for money for roads. Can't pay for the roads, can't pay for the water, can't pay for the electricity. We can't pay for anything. And so, like, what's the solution here? When I'm sitting at home and I'm doing my budget, I look at my rent, I look at my electricity, I look at all these other things, all these tax increases add on top of this. And I mean, why would any young person want to consider settling down here in this community when all of these taxes that I didn't have any say on are being loaded on to me? So we can't pay for the water, we can't pay for the electricity, we can't pay for the roads. This money is continuously having to fall on my generation and my grandchildren and children that come after me. So I wanted you to have that experience from me. We have large problems. Young people don't want to live here. The people, we bus people in, we educate them, and they go right back out across the border or up back to St. Louis. We have large problems here, and if we can't pay for the things that we currently have, these rate increases here, there, wherever they come from, I realize these are decided by different entities, different control, different power systems, but that doesn't matter when I'm sitting down and doing my budget. There's increasing amount of taxes, and it's taxes, and I don't feel like I'm getting anything in return for this increased investment. It's not an investment to me. It just isn't. I don't see any investment I don't see any investment occurring. I see money continuously being taken out of my pocket and put into other people's that don't need it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Are there any questions for Mr. Freeman? All right. Next on the list is Ryan Lane. Mr. Lane, would you raise your right hand, please? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Could you go ahead and state and spell your name?
Yeah, my name is Ryan Lane, R-Y-A-N-L-A-N-E.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Lane.
Yeah, I don't want to be redundant, so I won't talk very long. You know, a lot of people have said a lot of things, but for people who are making this decision that aren't part of the community, you know, I've been here, I came for work 16 years ago. You know, I married a local person, and so I'm from a very different community in St. Louis that's much, much larger, right? So I moved to a much smaller community, and I work at the university, and I've been, you know, on city boards, and I've been in the community a lot, and probably what I want to emphasize, people who aren't part of the community, haven't been part in this community, is we do have a lot of infrastructure problems here. They're asking for the rate for the city, for the water and sewer lines. We are constantly having water main breaks. It is a need, and I understand people don't want to be paying for it all at once, but it's a need. And we have the transportation tax fund coming up for renewal in April. We have the library fund coming up for renewal in April. So we have 3 things for the municipality that are coming up after this goes into effect, right? Or after this vote goes into effect. And people aren't going to vote for these things, which means our infrastructure needs are going to continue to decline because people on fixed incomes, young people who are trying to get started, you know, people who are less amicable to taxation in a general philosophical sense are not going to vote for those things if they see rate increases at a high level coming from other places, but they don't have control. And so as you're making this decision, understand our community has a lot of needs, and those needs are coming up to some significant fruition because they have been deferred for a whole lot of years by people who were previously in charge. And they may not vote for those things if we have higher costs elsewhere out of our control. I just think it's important for people who are not in our community to understand that those other costs are coming, so I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lane. And the last name I have on the list is Hayda Clark. Hayden, I'm sorry.
Hayden Clark,
All right.
Hadenclark.
Okay, would you raise your right hand to be sworn in? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Fundamentally, electricity is a human right. We cannot function as a society without it. Every person that lives in this area has no other choice but to use Ameren for their power needs. The price increase of 15 to 16%, thereabouts, is recoupment. It's to bring back the money that they have already spent on upgrading infrastructure. And instead of the investors in this company eating that loss the way investors in most companies would eat the loss of of things like that, they're pushing off the price onto the consumer. They're giving everybody that has to use this service a price increase, and I think that is it's disingenuous to the position they've been given. They are functionally a monopoly. They've been given the trust of the state of Missouri to act in the public interest in this area. They have been given control over the power of this whole state. And to use that control, to use that authority to increase profits for their shareholders and to increase the pay for their leadership, the CEOs, CFOs, what have you, is an abuse of their power. It's unjustifiable to increase the pay that they're charging everybody that uses this service just because they're doing what they have to do to maintain functionality as a power service. It is what you have to do if you're taking that position. To give power, you have to build that infrastructure. That's why the state of Missouri isn't having their own Department of Electricity that does it. It was given over to Ameren, and that is their responsibility. They shouldn't be pushing their costs onto everyone else. It's also my understanding that they have an advertising budget, which seems ridiculous given that they have no reason to advertise if they have no competition. It seems like a waste of everyone's money. I think that's most of my thoughts.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Clark? All right. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark was the last on our list, but is there anyone else here tonight who would like to testify? You changed your mind. All right. Mr. Dernberg. Am I saying that right? Is it Dernberg?
Dernberger.
Dernberger. Okay. Well,
D-I-R-N.
I'm not seeing an R on here.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm going to make you spell it again. You're Bernie Dernberger.
Yeah. Dernberger's D-I-R-N-B-E-R-G-E-R.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Dernberger. I'm sorry. You're making me do my job correctly. Thank you. You've got your right hand raised. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Now go ahead.
Okay. So I seen on their website they have 166,000 people who are behind on their bill, and if we increase this, there will probably be more that can't pay. And I mean, there's a lot of poor people in this area, so I'm concerned about the increase of being 15 or more %.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you for your testimony. If after you leave here tonight, you think of something and would like to make comments, that can be done on the commission's website, and that is PSC, Public Service Commission, .mo.gov, G-O-V. On the right side of the homepage, there's a link that is entitled Submit Comments. If you click on that, oh, I'm sorry. There is someone else that would like to testify? Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Okay.
Name is Lee Schneider.
All right.
It's complicated. S-C-H-N-E-I-D-E-R.
And your name is Lee, L-E-E?
Well, actually, it's Horace, H-O-R-A-C-E. Middle name's Lee. It's easier to spell Lee.
Okay. And would you raise your right hand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right.
I agree with the last presenter's concern. I mean, this is a monopoly, so to speak, even though it's a utility. We have no other choice but to get our electricity in this area from Ameren. I can't put solar panels on my house. It won't work. Too many trees. I'm concerned that I think the Missouri Public Service Commission should look at the amount of money Ameren is making and how they wanted to finance these improvements. You know, when the hospital here, a local hospital, built an addition, a very big addition, they sold bonds, okay, to finance their project. And the people that bought those bonds got a return, okay? this is not, you guys aren't doing it this way, and it's not right. Your return on equity, according to CNBC, is 9.9%. That's pretty good. Maybe that needs to be cut down, and maybe the Public Service Commission needs to look at Ameren's expenses. Maybe they need to trim down some expenses and find a way to avoid this kind of increase. It's one thing to have a 5% increase or a 6% increase or a gradual increase in rates, but 15%, that's tough to swallow. And this doesn't have anything to do with electricity, but I'm looking at a 20% increase in my gas rate if they approve it, which will go into effect in September of this year. I mean, it's on a, believe it or not, I am on a fixed income. I may not look like I'm retired, but I think that there needs to be some serious consideration as to where Ameren can trim expenses and not increase rates.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. And we do have another person.
I'm the short one. You got to lower. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. What is your name?
My name is Sherry Burton.
Sherry Burton. Could you go ahead and spell and spell your name for the record?
SHERRY BURTON.
All right. Ms. Burton, would you raise your right hand to be sworn in? Thank you.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
So you guys were not in here a little earlier, so I guess I'll just repeat what I said earlier in regards to the increase. Is it already set in stone, or is this you guys are going to be making a decision just from what you hear tonight on if the rate increase is actually going to happen?
I think I can speak for the commissioners when I say they take into consideration everything that is that they hear at these local public hearings, but then there is also all the evidence that will come in during the hearing and leading up to the hearing, testimony, statistics, whatever it might be.
Because I just didn't want. I'm sorry.
But Ms. Burton, we don't know what's said during the Q&A period. And that is because we can only take into consideration what is given on the record. And those meetings are not on the record. It's an opportunity for customers to get questions answered, to speak to staff, to speak to the Office of Public Counsel, to speak to Ameren. So what we take into consideration is what you're telling us tonight, what others have told us tonight, and what we will hear during the rate case, and plus testimony that is provided to the Public Service Commission via email. There's a way to record information that way also.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess my thing is I didn't want for us all to be in here so concerned and asking all the questions and voicing our opinions if you guys are just going to do what you want to do anyway. Being that Ameren is the only service that we have here, then we don't have a choice, regardless to what if you take our opinions and thoughts into consideration, if you're still going to jack it up, then we've all just wasted our time in being here. But what I do want you all to consider, as everyone else has already said, that this is going to be a big increase. And for someone like myself who is single and who's already, which personal issue, but just this past year I have become fully disabled. So not being able to get out and work as I used to and not have to worry about my electric bill, that's tough for someone like me to think about. When I was signing my new lease here just last month, the lady looked me in my face and was like, yeah, your rent is going to be going up $50. And I'm like, well, how are we all supposed to, afford that? Well, disability is getting an increase. And so it's just like, you get the increase there and then they snatch it. And then we have to think about you guys to come along and add some more to it. It's like, you don't get a chance to save and even try to put anything extra towards a future bill or anything like that, because it's all taken in your monthly between your rent and your electric. You have to decide how you really want to live, get your gas, get your medications, things like that. So I just really want you guys to think about people who have a limited income and how much this increase is going to affect us, along with a place to live. Like, we can't afford everything all at one time. That's where I'm going.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Burton. All right. Anyone else? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
My name is Kelly, Kelly, last name Smith, Smith.
All right. Ms. Smith, I'd like to swear you in. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Thank you.
My comments will be fairly brief. I know that you are the attorney who is representing Ameren. Shareholders are not the reason that people are here tonight. That's not why we're here. Missouri Public Service Commission. I have read that your average salary for 2025 is going to be over $184,000 for the year. That is their pay. You said, Judge, in your introduction that the purpose between the parties is to come up with rates that are just and reasonable. A 15% increase is not just, and it is not reasonable. Any person, regardless of their income, be they someone who is affluent or someone who is living at a poverty level, electricity is a basic need. We have to be able to keep ourselves warm in the wintertime, and we need to be able to keep ourselves cool in the summertime, especially since our world is getting hotter and hotter, and that is a basic need. And I wonder if that is, frankly, some of the justification that you all use to screw people on their rates. To you ladies, who are the attorneys for the, you say that you represent the citizens. Our expectations of you are high. If you are someone who is going to fight against this increase, then you fight. People cannot afford this. It is too much at one time. It is not something that, people can afford to do, simply because, the cost of everything, of just simple basic needs, everything has gone up. 15% is too much. And I expect you all to do everything that you can to make sure that this company that is for profit, because everything that they've talked about tonight, the infrastructure, and they make the excuse of all of the projects that they're working on, that's not reflected in our rates in terms of that making things more affordable for people. And so the reason that I really came tonight is just simply to be in defense of my community. People cannot do this. And you know that people cannot do this. And so, people have got to stand up. And I am so happy that people who are younger than me are here. I really am. Because every age group has got to stand up against this and say that it is wrong, because it is wrong. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right, and we do have another person that would like to testify. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. What is your name, please?
Hi, my name is Alexi Vaughn. Actually, Alexi Loving. I just got married. Loving.
And how do you spell your first name?
Alexi.
All right. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give tonight in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I want to know if you, the commission board, know what it does take to get solar panels that you guys are actually wanting us to get. It takes over a 600 credit score. And from what we just talked about earlier is the only way we can get any kind of assistance for Ameren is if we make less than $15,000. So I want to know if the commission actually cares about people that make $15,000 less, or actually, sorry, people under the poverty line. Do you think of them as human beings? Because we need electricity. That's all I got.
All right. And before you step away, you were initially said your name was Vaughn. Was that right? And how do you spell that, just for the sake of the record?
V as in Victor, Aughn as in Nancy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for her? No. All right. Anyone else who would like to testify? All right. We do appreciate your testimony. If you do later want to submit comments via our website, that website is psc.mo.gov. On that homepage, there should be a link that says Submit Comments on the right-hand side. If you click that link and enter your written comments, just make sure that you reference this case, which is ER-2024-0319. And, oh. It would depend. I'm not necessarily the person that can answer that question, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and have you at the microphone.
So I just want to state that this is what she was talking about, because I was looking this up. So in 2022, it says that the commissioner of the Missouri Public Service Commission made $121,753. That was in 2022. Now it says, as of January 12th of 2025, the average annual pay for the commission in the Missouri is $327 a year. So that in the last 3 years would be almost like $60,000 increase in your pay. So I don't think that anyone in this room has had a $60,000 increase in their pay, or $21,000 a year in their pay. So please just keep that in mind when you do go to vote for this, that we didn't get $21,000 a year in raises the last 3 years. We got hurt, we got hit with the economy. We didn't get a boost in pay to cover our cost. Please keep that in mind.
Okay. And, right, and for the sake of the record, you're Ms. Turner, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, Commissioner Coleman would like to make some closing remarks.
So again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Miss Kelly Smith took something that I was going to say. I was really excited to see so many young people here tonight. I appreciated the comments by Mr. Clark and Brock Freeman, because, you know, we always get, you know, people in the community to come to these local public hearings who have owned homes for many years, raised families, some mostly retired. So I really do appreciate the diversity in the people that attended tonight. Again, we thank you so much for your opinion. We really do appreciate your opinions. It does make a difference. So we thank you for taking the time. We thank you for your concerns. They are important to us. And on behalf of the other commissioners listening in to this tonight, I thank you and appreciate you. And if there are other comments that you would like to make, again, feel free to send that information to the Public Service Commission. And be safe out there. Thank you.
The hearing is, The hearing is now adjourned, and we are off the record.
Thank you, Judge.